Hi, Kathy. How are you? This is Scott Millender from Green Man Thriving in Tampa, and I'm just talking with Kathy today just about what they've done here in Seattle in terms of a local first movement, a group called Scallops.
Right.
And so I'd love to have her explain to our readers what that is and what they've done.
Sure. So first of all, I want to say hi to the East Coast because I'm a Jersey girl by birth and upbringing.
All right.
So hi, Florida. I like you. So who I am real quickly is I started off with Sustainable Ballard, and Ballard is a community up here in Seattle in the western part. We're like Tampa, we have water access and shoreline, and so there's a lot of, we have a sailboat-based CSA we can actually go over later. We can show you the restaurant for that. But I'm going to talk to you today about two things. One is kind of macro, and the other is very micro. So the macro we'll start off with because we're actually standing outside what we call the Sustainable Commons. And your friend here is at this big green festival, so there's probably a lot of noise in the background. But what Scallop stands for is Sustainable Communities All Over Puget Sound. And this network, believe it or not, started just a mere 2 years ago. In 2 years, with 4 communities on board, Sustainable Ballard being one of the original ones, you've now rocketed to growth of 72 towns. So that's pretty impressive. You have 4 towns going to 72. The groups are in different stages of development, and congratulations on starting your own relocalization group. I think it's great. Be patient with yourselves. You know, you're taking on a big task, but it's great that you're doing this because we have a whole bunch of factors, just kind of almost like a runaway train, not just climate change and peak oil, but dwindling resources. So, as Americans, we know that there's something up, and we're intelligent, innovative people, and we can look at relocalizing the economy and supporting each other on a more local basis. And that's really the mission of Scallops, is kind of looking at, okay, as we're dealing with dwindling resources, how can we return on a very gentle slope to kind of a quieter lifestyle. We already know that we can't go jet setting around the world anymore like we used to. We already know that buying a car that gets 10 miles a gallon is a bad idea. Some of the trends we're seeing, for example, is food. And so I'm going to switch to talking a bit about food because I think as a new group, we found that potlucks and talking about food is a very positive way to bring people into your group. We also just had our meeting last week. We have a monthly meeting here, and I would recommend to you that you do a monthly or a stable meeting time. Yeah. But we had over 80 people show up for a gardening seminar. So there's huge interest in gardening. You guys have the Orange Market cornered. But I would encourage everybody in your group, if you don't already know how to garden, to start adding that skill set to your coping skills. So when we talk about food, this is something we did. It's called Eat Local Ballard. And it is not, I don't know if you can kind of hone in on that a little bit. But what you're seeing here is the Seattle area. And what our food guild did, that's it, incredible research, put together, as you can see, there's different listings of different farms around the area. So you can kind of see the ecosystem, and where you might be able to buy as well. And then you issued a challenge where we did some tabling like we're doing here today, where we had people at our farmers market, which is an ideal location, and we kind of did a little PR campaign. We got some great write-ups in the article. If you go to the website, our former newspaper called the Seattle PI, and search on Eat Local Now, Sustainable Ballard, you'll pull up some of the press we got in 2008.
Great.
This is a very positive press campaign. We got great articles, and the other thing was, as far as the challenge, it was, we set it up so that you could choose. You didn't have to eat all of your food from within 100 miles 100% of the time. We had it set up so that when you take the challenge, you could do 75% of your food, you could do 50% of your food, or 25% of your food.
Right.
So being Seattle, for example, people would not give up their coffee, right? Because obviously we don't grow coffee here.
Right.
So what it did was it was really a teaching tool, and it was also a community building tool. You got people very involved with this. You had people, some of the most popular requests were, where can I buy local ice cream? And where can I buy local grains? Because for those of you who don't know Washington State, this is the rainy part of the state. And then over here, the east, it's more dry, and so you have, this is where our grains are coming from. And you'll see kind of a little bit of an expansion of the 100 miles, and we did that because people were like, well, we can't get grains unless we go outside the 100-mile radius.
I see. Okay. Yeah. What does that do in terms of sort of seasonality of the foods? How do people deal with that, and how do they look at their foods differently because of seasonality?
People do look at their foods differently. It's, I'm old enough to remember being a little girl and getting those remember the 3 packages of tomatoes in the cellophane?
Right.
And they didn't taste like tomatoes.
Right.
We're very lucky here, and also on the East Coast. We have America's a very fertile country, so we're not gonna starve. I think it's a matter of kind of rebuilding local networks and learning to eat in season. There are so many great books out there. I can't even begin to tell you. If you just do a Google search and put like Eat Local Now, you'll find some great cookbooks. I'm assuming in Florida, based on the seafood, that you must have some great local chefs.
Right.
You might want to have like an art festival. We have some local chefs who come and prepare like a quick little local tidbit to share with the community. And so then that gives that positive PR for the chef, and then he or she gets to show off like their skills with marlin, or their skills with maybe marlin in an orange sauce. I don't know, I'm being very stereotypical here.
Yeah.
But you get that idea that it's very much, you eat asparagus when it shows up in March. You don't go looking for asparagus in November. In November you switch to squash or something like that.
Right. Great. And I see that how many participating organizations are there here? I see there's
these are
lots of different
farms that we outline. So it's not so much participating. This is more meant as a resource guide.
I see.
So if you guys are going to try and do this in Florida, what I would recommend is you have somebody actually do some research. And find out what farms, local providers are in your area. And then what we did, we posted this on our website. And so we made it easy for people to find, and the geek term is consume. I mean, like, look at it as far as an information viewpoint, so that if you were panicked, for example, about not having grains, you can find out that, there actually are 4 grain farms that we could go ahead and technically pull within the 100-mile diet. We also didn't ask people, it's kind of like putting your toe in the water. We did this in August, which is a rich time for harvest. So it's not something, if you're going to do it, we did it for 1 month, we did it in a rich time. I would recommend you do the same thing.
Okay, great. How many participating farms are on this map?
We were very lucky here in the Puget Sound. I would say, this is also almost over a year ago now, but at least 100.
Wow, that's great. That's great. How many people do you have actually actively participating in the movement? Is there a count of that, or?
At this point, you have 72 different towns. So if you, for the sake of argument, let's say like Ballard is about 15,000 people. So if you extrapolate that out, you're talking about tens of thousands of people.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, just this weekend, because of the festival, got a city called Okanogan, or an area called Okanogan, in the eastern part of the state, and we just got a group starting up over there. So now this is starting to spread across Washington State.
Great, that's fabulous. Well, I think it's very inspiring.